So can you guys see my screen? I'm sharing it right now. All right, that's good. Okay, right. So yeah, just give me a minute. I'm just recording this. All right, there you go. So anyway, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to our uh, webinar. So this is our second webinar for this month. Part of our celebration um, for our anniversary. So right, let me just log in here. Okay, so first part is how to use MetaTrader 4. So right now the attendees know, majority of them already know how to use them, but this is for people who can't come today and would just like to watch the replay. All right, so let's start with uh, navigation for MT4. All right, now for MT4, initially this is what you'll see. Sorry, like okay, there you go. So uh, kindly mute your mic. Now, don't forget to mute your mic. Anyway, just forcing the mute there. Um, anyway, so whenever you open your MT4 and then open your live account or demo account, this is what you'll see. Okay? You have four major areas. You have your market watch, you have your navigator, you have your terminal, and then you have your charts over here. So let's start with the market watch. So the market watch, there you will see all the list of the currencies that you'd like to trade that your broker is currently offering you. Okay. So for example, here I have all the major pairs. I have all the crosses and a couple of minor pairs, exotic pairs, and you have CFDs, and so on and so forth. You have metals, you have oil. So it really depends on your broker on what they're offering that you can trade. But generally, um, they all offer almost the same stuff, like the major pairs, the minors, the crosses, some commodities. So that part you kind of is kind of standard for a lot of brokers. Now, all right. So for the market watch, this is where you'll see the current price. You have the bid price and the ask price. Okay, so that's the selling and the buying price. Um, if you so if you can't find the pair that you want, you right click on them and then you check out symbols, and then in there you'll see the list of all the pairs that your broker is offering you. Okay, so you have your majors, crosses, minors, CFDs, commodities. It depends on how your broker arranged it for you. So for demo purposes, we're gonna use Light Forex because this is what we have right now. So well, I'm not advertising it. You guys choose your own broker. It's really up to you. Okay. Anyway, so now that's basically the function of Market Watch. Okay. Basically, it shows you the price and all the pairs that you can trade. Okay. Now, moving on for Navigator. Navigator, you have here basically two things. Three things. You have your accounts, you have your indicators, and you have your expert advisors. So let's start with accounts. For Navigator, this is where you'll see all your accounts. Okay, so for example, I have here a demo account, an ECN demo account from Light Forex, and my account is already saved there. So if you want to switch accounts, you can always log into your accounts and then save your information, and then you can switch back and forth through your live accounts, demo accounts. So you may have several live accounts, you may have several demo accounts. It's okay. Next one is indicators. For indicators, these are, later we will discuss them further, but basically these are tools that can help you analyze the market better. So these are for technical analysis. And then last one is expert advisors. Expert advisors is your quote unquote forex robots that trades for you. So they're already programmed. You just plug it into your MetaTrader 4 and then automatically it trades for you. But do watch out if your expert advisor really works. So there you go. That's what you can see with a navigator. You have accounts, indicators, you have expert advisors. And then down here is your terminal. So below is your terminal, and this is also very important because this is where you'll see all your live trades. So you have here a couple of tabs below: trade, exposure, account history, news, alerts, mailbox, so on and so forth. So what's really important are these two. You have trade, and then you have account history. So for trade, these are all your um, current trades that are open. Right now, we don't have an open trade. Later, let's try opening one. And then you can see here your balance, and then your equity, okay, and then also your free margin. So you have there your trade. And then the next important one is your account history. Account history, basically, it's a list of everything that you did with your account. Okay? So let's try opening a trade right now so that you guys can see it. What is wrong with this? Right. Sorry, give me a minute. I think I have like the wrong set open here. And I'm not actually sure why uh, this one isn't working right now. Sorry, give me a minute. Well, anyway, um, I'll just download I'll just get a new account for our demo purposes. Sorry, I am kind of weirded out why this is not working right now because it was working yesterday. In any case, so going back, you have here your trade and then you have here your account history. All right. So those are the three parts there: Market Watch, Navigator, and then you have your terminal. Now the important part is basically your chart over here. So that's the fourth part, and this is basically where we can analyze our charts. Okay. So first thing to do is to pull out the chart. How do we pull out a chart? Um, you go to your market watch and then you right click on the pair that you want. So for example, we want Euro USD. So we right click on that and then you click on chart window. So there you go. So this is our newly created chart over here. And then now what you can do is that for now it looks a little bit confusing. So you can change how your chart would look like. So you right click on that and then you go to properties. Okay. If you check out properties, you have your color scheme. So you can change it. There's default there, yellow on black, green on black, black on white. Personally, I'm more of a black on white person because it's cleaner for me. But it really depends on you. You can actually change the exact color of the bars going up, going down, bullish candle, the graph, the ask line, background, foreground, basically everything. Here, if you want it pink and purple, it's up to you. But personally, I'm more of a black and white guy. Then you go to common for a couple more customizable stuff about your chart. So you have here the types of charts that you can use. You have bar chart, candlesticks, you have line chart. So what I recommend is that you go for candlestick charts because we can analyze the market better for candlesticks. And then personally, I take out the grid so that it's not very, it looks cleaner. And I also put in period separator so that I know when days or weeks are or months are separated. So with that, if you click OK, this is what it looks like. And there you go. So you have here some options up there. If you want to take out your market watch, you just want to take them out of your current view. You click on the button over here. See, it takes it out. Navigator here, and then your terminal there. If you want them back, you just click them up here. Because sometimes people kind of panic whenever they close one of these windows over here, and then they can't find market watch anymore. So it's just there. You click on it. It's gonna come back. All right. So if you want to take them all out, you just click them out, and then you have a bigger chart. Now, next to that is that we can customize how we view our chart. So let's go with this one first. You have here, okay, you have here a bar graph. This is what it looks like, bar chart, candlestick chart, and then you have a line graph. So I suggest that you guys use a candlestick chart because it's easier to analyze. Next is you have zoom in, zoom out. Basically, it does what it says. You can zoom in and zoom out. So this is very important if you want to kind of see the bigger picture of what's happening in the market. There you go. So as you can see, it's kind of trending upwards, consolidating in the middle, but generally it's going up. Now, if you want to look at it deeper, right now you can see that the euro is falling down. Okay. And so that's in zoom in and zoom out. Next is you have your scroll, and then you have your shift end. Okay. So you can turn them on or turn them off. If you want to turn them off, they should be unclicked. Okay, but if you click them on, what scroll the chart means is that every time the price moves by a tick, it actually goes to the front. So for example, you're way back here, you're backtracking on the prices, and you're right now at currently May 5. If you click on your scroll the chart, every time it moves one tick, your chart goes to the present or the current price. So if I click that, we're gonna go to the current price. Right. Now for chart shift, or sorry, shift end is that it's just gonna give you some space if you turn it on. So I suggest you do turn it on, give yourself some space so that you can draw a couple of lines and you can basically view where the market is going, or imagine rather where the market is going. Right. So alright, so that's your buttons up there. Now below here, let's go with this one first. Time frames. So you can change the time frame of the charts that you're using. You have M1, which is 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hours, daily, weekly, and then monthly. So what do you mean by hourly, or what do you mean by every day? Okay. That means you're changing the time of your candlesticks. Basically, the time that your candlesticks measure. Okay. So let's go with the hourly chart for now so that it's fairly easy. Right now, you have here your current price. It's this current candle over here. So it's around 9 o'clock right now. So this is your 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock candle. Basically, this current candle is measuring the price movement for this hour. Now, if you move back over here, you have here a strong bearish candle. Okay. So that candle measured your 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then previously, you have 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 6 to 7, 5 to 6, so on and so forth, right? So if you change that, let's say you go to daily, every candlestick now measures what happens in a day, or rather, what the price movement was for today, okay, or for each day rather. So today we have here a strong bearish movement, and this current candle right now is your September 9 candle, and then previously September 8, September 7, 6, 5, 4, so on and so forth, right? So if you change these ones time frames, it also changes um, your candlestick, how much time they actually measure. So you have M1, M5, M15, M30, uh, hourly, 4 hours, daily, weekly, and then monthly. So um, these candlesticks are very important, or rather time frames are very important, because it defines what type of trader you are. What do you mean? There are basically three types of traders. You have short-term traders, or you have scalpers, or intraday traders. You can call them intraday traders. These are traders that go in and go out of the market in a couple of minutes, in a couple of hours, or within the day. Those are day traders, intraday traders. Next type of traders are swing traders. Basically, what they do is that they trade for a couple of days, a week, or even a little more. So those are swing traders. They open a trade and then they let it run for the next few days, for a week, or for even more than that. And then you have the last one, which are called position traders. Position traders are traders that take a very long trade in the market. For example, they trade like they open a trade and then let it run for like a couple of months. Okay, just like with one of our members here in PAFI, we have a lot of position traders. Just like you have Goldie, she trades gold and holds them for a very long time. She buys gold and then holds it for like a couple of months. You have same thing with Bro Eman. He well really holds the trade for a very long time. He's a very patient guy. So, for example, he buys like a pair and then closes it like after uh, more than a month, or 2 months, 3 months. Right? So those are called position traders. So choosing your time frame defines what kind of trader you are actually. So if you're looking at the daily chart, right, or weekly chart, don't expect that you're gonna go in and out of the market in a matter of minutes. Okay? That's kind of that's very difficult to do. Rather, you can go for maybe M15, M30, H1, maximum of H4. Okay? If you're a swing trader, normally they trade around H1, H4, and D1. If you're a position trader, normally you trade at D1 weekly and then monthly. So it really depends on what type of person you are. If you're the type of person who would like to set something and forget it for the next few months, then position trading might be good for you. If you can't really stand it that long, maybe you can go for swing trader or maybe intraday if you really have time and effort for it. So it really depends on the type of trading you want. So time frame really is very important. Now, um, moving on, you have here a couple of additional tools that you can use with your chart. You can draw a couple of lines. You have your vertical line and then a horizontal line. So basically, it does what it says it is named after. So vertical line, you click on it, and then you click on the chart, and then voila, you have a vertical line. Same thing with the horizontal line. You click on it here, and then you want to place it somewhere here, like a resistance over there. You click on it, then you have a horizontal line. Now, if you want to move it around, what you do is you double click on it, and if you notice there's like these small white boxes at the end, that means it's highlighted. If it's highlighted, you can move it around. Click drag. You can move it around if you want. So for example, you made some sort of error, you clicked on it, you want to put it at the resistance at the top, but you place it in the middle here, you want to move it up, you double click on it, see, there's no white boxes here. If we double click on it, white boxes. Drag it upwards, and there you go. If you want to delete it, make sure it's highlighted and then press delete on your keyboard. Same thing with your with your vertical lines, work exactly the same way. And then the next one is your trend line. Trend lines are a very useful tool if you're looking at the general trend. So let's try to zoom out and the weekly chart. There you go. So as you can see now, there's some sort of a trend going up here, and you can use a trend line to draw or to trace that trend from start. You click on there, you hold your left click, and then you drag it where you want it to go. Okay. So as of now, that's your trend line over there. If you want to change the properties of your trend line, you double click on that. Make sure it's highlighted, you right click, and then you go to trend line properties. Then you have a couple of options there, like how thick your line is, color, the name, and then a couple of parameters. Right? So, any questions so far before I move on? Any questions? So everything's clear? Alright. So everything seems okay so far? Alright, that's excellent. So, right. Now let's move on to, you have here fibs. So for Fibonacci, I'll explain it a little later, but if you want to look for it, it's over here. If you click on it, you draw it from the start of the trend to the end of the trend. So for example, from the highest point to the lowest point, if you want to see a retrace, like for this point, you draw it here to the lowest point, and here are your retrace levels. I'll talk about them later on, so let's skip this for now. At least you know where it is. If you want to change it a little bit, see that broken line there, broken lines, you highlight, you double click it to highlight it, and then you can change it. The box in the middle, you can move it, you can move the whole thing with it. If you want to move just the tip or the bottom, you use the boxes there. Tip and then bottom. Right. So now those are the basic stuff for the charts. Okay, those are the lines, time frame, zoom in and zoom out. Now, if you want to add indicators, so later we'll discuss indicators a bit. If you want to add indicators, you go to insert, and then you have indicators there. And then now, MetaTrader 4 already has a custom, they already have custom indicators built in. There's already a lot of them actually, and these indicators are widely used. So you actually have a lot of good tools there already. But be wary, never base your trade solely on an indicator alone, especially if these are just built in with the software, because they don't work standalone. Okay? They just basically help you analyze the market. So let's have one indicator like moving average. Okay, so basically we want to check the average of the price. Okay? So you go to indicators, and then you go to trend, and then you go there. You go to moving averages. You left click on them, and there you go. Now, before you enter it, they will ask you for a couple of parameters. For example, like this one, period. That means how many candles are you averaging. So, for example, I want to average the last 50 candles. Okay. And then you click OK, and then there you go. That is the average price for the last 50 candles over there. Right? If you want to insert some more, you can just plug in more indicators. So for example, you want to add in, let's go with RSI, Relative Strength Index. Basically, this covers if your pair is oversold or not. So you have it here. Right now it's in the middle. It's not really oversold or overbought. It's just consolidating in the middle. Um, so you can put these ones in. If you want to take them out, you right click here and then you go to indicators list, and then there you go. You can edit them if you want, or you can delete them. There you go. Alright, so that's the basic stuff for manipulating your charts, or basically using uh, or basically drawing stuff on your charts, putting your analysis on your charts, adding indicators. That is basically what you need to do. Now for the next part, we'll have let's go with before we continue with opening trades and then managing trades. I think that we should go to basic technical analysis first, so that we have a good idea on what supports and resistances are, what we are actually drawing there, why we're actually buying or selling at those points in time. All right. So let's have a short break. Um, right now it's 9:46, so let's resume in 10 minutes. All right. So if you have any questions, let's go over them after 10 minutes. Let's have a short break first. All right. So everyone here, ready? Ready? Okay, that's great. Okay, so this is a technical analysis and fundamental analysis, so that you guys have um, a good idea on what we're basing our trades on. Is the volume okay? Okay, I think the volume is okay. Nobody's yep. Okay, that's good. So sorry, my voice is a little strained right now, so I can't really make it as loud as I want to. So anyway, continuing on. All right, so there are basically two types of analysis that we can do in the market. You have technical analysis, and then you have fundamental analysis. Now, for let's start with fundamental analysis. Okay. Fundamental analysis is like what we mentioned in the previous webinar. It's basing your trades on economic factors. Basically, what's happening in the country that you whose currency you're trading. Okay, so for example, you're talking about the U.S. dollar. So whatever happens to the U.S. directly affects on their currency. So if their economy is good, the value of the U.S. dollar is up. Now, if their economy is bad, the value of U.S. dollar is also down. So just like for example, you have employment, you have bank statements, political events, natural disasters. Um, I'll give you an example. Like let's go with employment rate. Okay? If you have employment rate and employment rates are down, for example, you have previous data uh, which is let's say you have a lot of people employed, and then the next data comes, and then the forecasted data is it's gonna continue to go well, and then the when it comes out, the actual data is a lot less than the previous and the forecasted data. That means the economy of the US is bad. Okay? So there are people who lost jobs and their employment is down. So naturally, if employment is down, what happens to the US dollar? Okay, people don't have money, so they can't spend. So their economy is going to slow down, okay? And basically because of that, you have the dollar going down. Let's have another example. Let's say you have bank statements. Okay, bank statements. You have let's say the banks are in good status. Let's say they don't have a lot of loans. They don't have they're doing very well. Okay, that means their economy is good. Okay, so you expect the U.S. dollar will have a higher value. Okay? Now, vice versa, if you have people who or if you have negative bank statements, you have banks closing down and everything, what will happen? Basically, the value of dollar will go down. Okay? So, for fundamental analysis, that's the basic concept. Okay? Whatever happens to a country directly affects on their currency. So, sir, you can view the PowerPoint in full screen. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot. My bad, my bad. Thank you for that, Philip. Yeah. No worry. He even sent me a message on private so that I won't be in. No worry. We're kind of casual here anyway. Thanks, bro, Philip, for pointing that out. Anyway, guys, if you have questions on the spot, it's all good. You guys can ask them. We have a small group here anyway. So or rather, a very close group anyway. All right. So moving on. So that's fundamental analysis. Okay. Now what we have to do is that we have to check out what's happening in with the other countries, specifically with the ones that we're trading. So the best way to do that is you check out the news. Okay, now if you have time, you can check out CNBC, you can check out Bloomberg, all those good stuff with what's happening with the countries. Now, if you really don't have that much time, you can use an economic calendar, which basically consolidates all the datas that are coming out for the next week, next month. Okay, so here's a here's an example of that. You have let's go with there you go, Forex calendar. So the Forex calendar is available um, to everyone. Okay, it's free. Uh, there are a lot of sources for it. So for this lecture, we're gonna use Forex Factory because this is what I'm used to. Okay. So if you check it out, you go to Forex Factory, you go to calendar. It basically lists down all the significant events that have happened for the past week and that will happen for the whole week. Well, it's already Friday now, 10 p.m. So basically, most of the data has already came out. So you have here this week's data. Okay. Don't forget to change your clock over here. Make sure you set it to your own time. So for example, you're here in the Philippines, GMT plus 8. If you're somewhere else, set it to your own clock so that the data over here, the time here will be at where you are. So that it's not confusing. You won't do plus minus anymore. So you have here the date. So let's go with Monday. Monday, you have it here. These are the time. Let's say you have 10:30 a.m. 10:30 a.m. What's gonna come out is BOJ Kuroda speaks. So that's gonna affect the Japanese yen. That's the currency here. And then you have the level of impact here. It's color coded. So here is the legend. I think somewhere here. There you go. Low is yellow, medium is orange, and then red is high. Okay. Gray is non-economic, meaning bank holiday. There's gonna be less movement in the market if you see non-economic factors. Um, so now over to your right is that you have actual, forecast, and then previous. So basically, it consolidates the previous data, and then they give you a forecasted data, and then the actual data when the exact minute is already here. So for example, let's go with something recent. You have here employment change for Canada, and what you have on the first column is the actual, forecast, and previews. Remember, what you're gonna see before that time is only the forecasted in the previous data. So for example, you have here employment rate, employment change. Um, this is your forecasted data, and this is your previous data. Okay? Now, at exactly 8:30 p.m., this data came out. So, it's 26.2K. So that was the data that came out. So your question right now is that, okay, you have numbers coming out. I'm not an economist, and what do those mean? Okay. What do those numbers mean? You can click the detail over here to check out what the news is exactly about. So for example, you have here um, change in the number of employed people during the previous month. So it's kind of straightforward. And then you have here the usual effect. Actual is greater than forecast equals good for the currency. Vice versa, it's going to be bad for the currency if actual is below the forecasted data. So frequency, it's released monthly. Next release is over there. Then you have some notes and why traders care. And you have some history over here if you need them. And you also have something very useful here. They color coded it already. So for example, if they color coded it as green, that means it's good data. If it's red, that means it's bad data. Okay. So it kind of helps us, especially if we're not very savvy with news and economics. Personally, I'm not very good with those things. Okay, I'm not an economist, but from this alone, I can have some idea on what's gonna happen to the market. Okay? Now at exactly 10 p.m., this data came out. Let's see if see, there you go. All right. So at exactly 10 p.m. earlier, this data come out. It's wholesale inventories. Here's your forecast, previous data, and actual data, 0%. All right, so basically that's your economic calendar. Okay, so I suggest that if you're going for economic data, you check these ones out so that you have something to watch out for. You know when the news are coming out, and especially when you see red ones, the prices really move. Okay, prices really move. Well, not sometimes not as much, but sometimes they really do. For example, you have non-farm payroll. If there was really a big difference in data, it's gonna move a lot. So that's your fundamental analysis right there. Any questions with fundamental analysis? No questions? All right. So that's good. Red one, good to buy. Okay. No, not exactly. Um, when it kind of depends on which side you're on. Okay. So let's go back here. So for example, you have look for good data. Okay, let's go for let's make it simple first. Okay. Let's go with this one. Thursday, you have unemployment claims. Okay. Now, you have here, the actual data is 259K, right? So, what is unemployment claims? Unemployment claims is basically the number of individuals who filed for unemployment, okay, for the first time during the past week, meaning those are the number of people who are unemployed, okay? So, actual less than forecasted is good for the currency. Meaning, if you have less people unemployed, that's, well, good for the currency. Okay. So now you have here 259, which gave you a green color. So that means the data is good. Okay. So meaning it's good to buy the US dollar if they put out good data on the US dollar. Okay. Let me repeat that. I know it might be a little confusing. Since they gave good data for the US dollar, naturally the US dollar should go up. Okay? Not always the case, but it should go up based on fundamental analysis. Okay? So let's say the pair that you're buying is USD JPY, okay? And you say buy. Yes, that's a good trade there if you buy that pair, USD JPY, right? Because you're buying the US and you're selling the Japanese yen. Okay. But let's go with a different one. Okay, let's have another example. Okay, this one. Unemployment change for the Canadian dollar. Okay. You have here good data for the Canadian dollar, meaning the Canadian dollar is going up. However, if you check your charts, if you're gonna pair it with US dollar, what you have is USD CAD. Meaning, since data is good for the Canadian dollar, you'd like to buy the Canadian dollar and sell the US dollars. So to do that, we have to go short, meaning we have to sell the USD CAD pair. Okay? So what will happen there if we say sell on USD CAD? What's going to happen is we're selling the US dollar and then we're buying the Canadian dollar. Okay? So it depends on which side the currency is on and depends on if it's giving you good data or if it's giving you bad data, right? Was I able to answer the question, Bro Nino? Okay, that's great. Now let's go back with this one. All right. So that's for fundamental analysis. Okay. What I recommend, if you're, this is just a personal input for me. Okay. What I recommend is that if you're going for fundamental analysis, you go for longer time frames. I suggest that if you're going for fundamental analysis, you go for longer time frames, because short time frames for fundamental analysis might not be very reliable. Okay? There are a lot of spikes in the market, and then after a while, they go back to the original path that they should be on. For example, the pair, let's say the US should be strong, and then suddenly it spikes down. Okay? It weakens, like for the when data comes out, it weakens for the next 5, 10, 15, or even 1 hour, and then suddenly it recovers and then goes to its merry way on the positive side of things. Okay? So that happens. So if I suggest that if you're going for fundamental analysis, you go for longer time frames like daily, weekly. Those are really good time frames for fundamentals. Okay, so any questions with fundamental analysis before we move to technical analysis? Okay, so no questions there. All right, let's go with technical analysis. Technical analysis is basing your trades on charts. Okay, you're basing your trades on charts. Basically, what's happening in the charts right now and what has happened before. So you're basing your trades on past prices, volume, and market activity. Sorry, I'll blow the screen up again. There you go. So technical analysis is basing your trades on past prices, volume, and market activity. So you have this thing called supports and resistances. So a lot of you may have um, studied this one already, supports and resistances, and some of us might not have read that before. So what are they? Okay, supports and resistances, basically, they are points, not really points, but areas in your chart where prices are likely to bounce. Okay? Again, these are areas in your charts wherein prices are likely to bounce. Okay? You have support and then you have resistances. Okay? So I'll give you like a quick idea on what it is. Okay. Sorry, I don't have a slide for this one, so you have to listen to this kind of intently. Let's say uh, the market price. Okay, let's say the price is like a rubber ball. Okay, you have a rubber ball here, and your support is your floor. Okay, your resistance is your ceiling. Okay, again, the price is a rubber ball. Your floor, sorry, your support is your floor, and then your resistance is your ceiling. Now, what happens if you bounce your ball, if you throw your ball towards the floor? Naturally, it's gonna bounce. Same thing if you throw it upwards to your ceiling, it's gonna bounce down. So, supports and resistances are like floors and ceilings in your charts. They are areas where prices are likely to bounce. Okay? So these are very important areas because these are areas where we can buy or sell, or where we can make trades at lower risks. Okay? Rather than if you buy at a high price or you sell at a low price. Okay? Supports and resistances give us a better idea where we can buy better prices and sell at better prices as well. Okay. So let's have some uh, examples for the charts. Let's go with let's have a random pair. You have Alright, there you go. So you have the New Zealand dollar. Okay, you have the New Zealand dollar. So with this one, if you go here first, the price went down very steeply. Okay, down, 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 down. And then it hit an area here and then went back up. Okay. It went down again to this area and then went back up. So after that particular instance there, you have an idea that this area right here is a resistance. Why? Because it already bounced twice at that area. It went down here, then upward, then down here, and then upward. So, if you see the next one over here, and then it bounces down again, you have a pretty good idea that the price will bounce over there. So that's the support right there. Okay. Now after that, it goes up here and then goes down. Okay. So you have some idea that this is your range right now. Okay. It goes down a little bit, okay, and then goes back up. So as it goes back up here, it bounced here before. So you have a pretty good idea that it might bounce there again. Okay. See, bounced there again and then went down. Now, you have here a minor resistance over there. So that might be a good area where you can buy, or you have another area here where you might also buy in case it goes down further. Alright, goes down a little bit. Okay. So it takes into this second area right here, and then it bounces up. Okay. Now, as it bounces up, you can see here that there is a little bit of a break towards our ceiling. Okay. Now, to give you an idea, what happens when a floor is broken or when a ceiling is broken? Okay. Imagine that you still are holding your rubber ball and then you throw it towards the ceiling, but you throw it so hard that it breaks your ceiling. So it goes through the ceiling. Now, what happens is it's going to look for the next ceiling. So imagine you're on the first floor, you throw it upwards, it breaks your ceiling, and then it continues on to the second floor. Let's say it hits the ceiling on the second floor and then bounces down. When it bounces down, where is it going to bounce? Is it going to bounce on your first floor or is it going to bounce on the second floor? Of course, it's going to bounce on your second floor. So, your previous resistance has now become a new support. Okay, remember, whenever resistances are broken, they become new supports. Okay. Let me just repeat that. Imagine you have a rubber ball, you throw it to the second floor, it goes through, okay, the ceiling of the first floor. Now, your new floor will be the old ceiling, right? So let's check it out. It goes up here, it breaks your resistance over there. It just retraces a bit, goes back up, okay? And then you see here, bounce a little up, down here, just breaks it a little bit there, and then continues upward. Okay. Now you have some sort of a ceiling over here. If you check it out, okay, you have a resistance there, it goes down, breaks this one, and breaks this one. So where is your support on this? Around this area right now. So see, it bounced up, down, up, and then right now, it broke our resistance again. So if you check it out, you have resistance here, bounced here, down, and then as it came up, it bounced again, down here. Since you already have your new support over this area, it bounced here, up, down, up. As it goes up here, you have a pretty good idea it's going to bounce somewhere there, and then it's going to bounce down. When it bounces down, you have 2 points here, 1 and then 2. So you have a pretty good idea that it already bounced there, and this was your previous resistance. Now it's a new support. It will also bounce at that area and then continue upwards. Now you have this resistance. Okay, you might want to consider selling that. You can, okay, but in case you sold it, we might have made a couple of losses there because it even pushed through. Okay, now that it pushed through, you know that this resistance is now a new support. So you might want to actually continue that trade. It might continue to go up because the old resistance is now broken and is now currently a new support. Okay. Is that clear, or would you like me to repeat it a little bit? Clear? All right, that's good. All right, that's excellent. Okay. Now, your supports and resistances are not exact points. Okay, remember that they are not pinpoints. Okay, they are more of areas or a whole zone. Okay, so for example, if you check this out, you have here like a whole zone over there. Okay. If you actually check out our weekly market reviews, I don't really draw with a straight line. Rather, I draw with boxes. Okay. If you want to create boxes, you have it here, over there. Draw a rectangle. You click on that, and then see right there. That's your whole zone right there. Okay. That's your whole resistance, and this is your whole support. Okay. Now, um, it's not a perfect world, so normally supports and resistances are not always horizontal. Actually, usually they are at an angle, okay? And you call them trend lines. Whenever you have a support resistance that is at an angle, they are called trend lines. So for example, for this one, you have that one here. Right now, it's actually steeper. There you go. That's your new trend line. Okay. So if you have a trend line, you can actually draw some sort of a channeling. That's a channel is like a tunnel, wherein you trace your supports at an angle and your resistance at an angle as well. So see, you have here channeling. Okay, so we're expecting the prices to range within your supports and resistances, trend lines. It's gonna go down, up, but generally it's going up. Okay. The best person I know with this type of analysis is Goldie. She's really good at trend lines and channels. So you might want to check out some of her seminars in the future. I think she taught this like a couple of times in our seminars. So I think she will also discuss that for our upcoming event. This October 1, we have that anniversary party, and we have like a trading session there and a lot of inputs from different traders, and Goldie is going to be one of them, and she will discuss her um, strategy basically on how to trade. Okay. So channeling is a major thing about it. We have a question here. You may use MA for the direction of the trend line and channel. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a good input right there. You can also use a trend line, you can use an MA. Let's try to plug it in. You have indicators, and then trend, moving averages, and then let's go with 50, and then you have to plug in another one so that you know if there's change in trend. Let's go with blue one. Uh, go half of it, 25. There you go. Huh? Let's try to make one longer, like 25. Let's make this 200. There you go. All right. So this is what Laurent was talking about. You have here like a trend line, and it basically guides you where the price is going. So it's pretty much the same thing as your channeling. From Philip, sir, do we need to draw a box in support and resistances rather than a line? Yellow box in the previous chart. It really depends on you. The answer is not really. You don't really need to put a box rather than line. Um, a line is much easier to see if you're just starting out. Um, but if you want to have something like you really want to see where the range of your or how thick your supports and resistances are, I suggest that you use your box, yellow box. Actually, that is what I learned from Mark. He's also one of our members here in the group. I think he will also be in the anniversary celebration, and he will also discuss how he identifies his supports and resistances. I actually use his ideas a lot. Basically, what he his ideas for supports and resistances are the shadows. So bounces and the shadows. So for example, you have here this shadow over here. See those wicks, those lines? That is actually his support. So if you check it out, like you box this whole thing, that is where his support is. So if the price goes down, this is where he will probably buy. So uh, if you actually check out my weekly market reviews, I also depend on that kind of strategy, identifying supports and resistances using shadows and wicks. Hopefully, we can hear more from Mark on this one so that we can draw more accurate support and resistances area. I've encountered, okay, next thing is that I've encountered some false breakouts and breakdown using lines. I'm thinking to try the box as well. Yeah, actually, another thing with the breakouts is that you might want to wait for some sort of confirmation that it's really a breakout because uh, those things, false breakouts, are called whipsaws, and they happen very often in the market. Okay? Personally, I have my personal thoughts on why they happen. It's because of market makers and liquidity providers trying to spike you out of your trade. And it's gonna be a long discussion if we discuss that one. So let's leave it for next time. But whipsaws happen a lot, so you have to have some sort of confirmation for that. And one confirmation would be waiting for an extra candle that it's outside the zone, it's outside your resistance already before you enter a trade, or you might want to wait for it to retrace a bit and then bounce back again before you enter the trade. Those are some ways to avoid whipsaws. Okay? So I hope that that will help you lessen instances of whipsaws. I'm sure everybody here has experienced like hundreds of whipsaws already. Yeah. So it's really part of trading, and the best thing that you can do about it is just lessen the instances by just having good confirmation that your trade is really breaking out or the prices are really breaking out. What time frame should I check for the confirmation candle? That depends on the time frame that you're using. So for example, you're looking at H1 or H4 breakouts, then I suggest you stick to those time frames. So normally, if you're talking about breakouts, I suggest something higher than H1. Okay? H1, H4, D1. Okay? Those are good breakout time frames. If you're talking about M5, M15, M30, you'll have a difficult time with breakouts because you'll have more whipsaws than your higher time frames. So stick to the time frame that you're using. That's what I suggest. So let's say you're a swing trader, H1, H4, D1, then stick to those time frames. So, okay, welcome. I don't think there's, so if you guys have any questions, just shoot at the chat. Okay? I'll just continue. Um, right. So, uh, where was I? Right. So that's your trend line. And so we have a couple of MAs here. Just to give you an idea why I put two. You have a slow uh, moving average and then you have a quicker moving averages. What happens there is that every time they cross, there's a possibility that the trend will change. So for example, before you have here the blue was down and then the red was up. If they interchange areas, then you might have an imminent change in trend. Right now, you see that the blue crossed up and the price is really going up right now, and it's still continuing to go up. At this point in time, there already was a change in trend. So you can actually use moving averages to identify trend changes. But then again, please do not fully rely on that one. It's just an extra tool for you to analyze if the trend really is going up. So thank you, Laurent, for that plugin. Right. So those are your supports and resistances as well as your trend lines. So in those areas, I forgot to say how significant these ones are. So if you already know your supports and resistances, you have a good idea on where prices might bounce. Okay, you have a good idea where prices might actually bounce. So don't buy in the middle of the range. So for example, you have this chart over here, which is your New Zealand dollar and US dollar. Okay, it's pretty much in the middle of the range right now, even though you say this one was your previous resistance. Okay, right now it's bouncing there. Okay, that's all right. You can buy here short term if you want. Okay. But if you're looking at the whole daily chart, if you check it out, it's actually at the top right now. It's near your resistance. So you might actually want to buy somewhere lower. Okay, if you're looking at the general trend line, you might want to buy somewhere along this red line over here. So if you know that there are trend lines there are your supports and resistance there, you might actually want to buy at those price levels instead of buying at a very high price over here. Same thing. If the price is already here at your support area, don't sell because it's already at your support area. There's a good probability that it's going to go up. Okay? So that's the essence of having supports and resistances. It gives you an area where trades are possible. Okay? Trades with low risk are possible. But do not enter a trade solely on supports and resistances. There are more elements to a trade than just solely having supports and resistances. I guess that is one thing that a lot of people make mistakes in. Personally, I have like years of mistakes with that one that I just whenever I see a support, I just automatically enter from there. No regards whatsoever with how the candles look like. Okay? So um, that is just an area where prices would probably bounce. You have to have additional confirmation for that one. Right. So any questions with supports and resistances before we move on to indicators? Okay. None? Can we have a short 5 minute break? I'm kind of a little thirsty, so give me like a 5 minute water break. I'll be back in 5 minutes. If you have any questions in mind, shoot them out of the chat, and then I'll just answer them after when I get back. Okay. So it's 10:36 right now. I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right. So let's continue. So now let's have the indicators. All right. Now for the indicators, you can have them together with your analysis. So these are just additional tools to help you analyze the market. So each indicator has their um, own thing that they're analyzing. So for example, sometimes indicators analyze trend, they analyze market swings, they analyze volume, if the market is oversold, overbought. Okay, so you have a lot of things that they analyze, and it really depends on which one you're using. So right now we're just gonna feature a couple of ones that might help you in your trades. You have moving averages. I'm not going to discuss MACD anymore. Let's just go with manual moving averages. I think it's much better than that. You have RSI, and then you have, let's not go with stochastic anymore because it's pretty much the same thing as RSI anyway. So let's go with parabolic SAR. So, all right, let's go with that. Now, you go to insert indicators. Now, let's clean this chart up so that it's okay. So it's easier to draw in there. Now, let's start with moving averages. Moving averages is the one that we plugged in earlier. You go to trend and then moving averages. Remember that whenever you're putting moving averages, what you're doing there is the line there is an average of a number of candles, okay? And the number of candles is your period over here, okay? So right now, let's say I'm averaging the price of the past 50 candles, and then I'm gonna put it on red. And then let's go with another one, moving averages, and then I'll go for 100, and then I'll color it blue, and then there you go. All right. So as you can see from there, every time the moving averages cross each other, that means there's a probability that there is a change in trend. Okay? Not always, but there's a probability that there's a change in trend. Okay? So for example, you have this one, it went down, crossed back up, then you have a probability of a change in trend, cross back down, cross back up, and then continue upwards, right? So that's your moving averages. Basically, it gives you a heads up if the trend is already changing. And together with that, you can also use them as supports and resistances if you want. Okay? For example, if you have something trending already, like this one, it kind of uses these areas or these moving averages as your support and supports as well. Okay, supports or resistances, just like what Lawrence mentioned earlier. Now you can also add in second one is RSI, relative strength index. Okay, and then you have here, there you go. It's basically measuring if the currency is oversold or if it's overbought. And then you have levels here. You have 70 and you have 30 here. If the price is already above 70, that means it's already overbought. If the price is below 30, that means the pair is already oversold. So, if it's already overbought and oversold, it might not be a good time to sell it more or to buy it more if it's already up there. Okay? Because it might not go up any higher because it's already overbought. So that can be an addition to your analysis. Let's say it's already at a resistance. Okay? It already bounced down. Then from your analysis here, it's already overbought and it's already going down for the RSI. Same thing with your moving averages. you have already a big cross in your moving averages, and you can see it's going down. Together with that, you have a couple of confirmations from your candlesticks. Then that might be a good time to sell your currency pair. Right? So it's more of a combination of several factors than having just relying on one sole thing. And then lastly, let's try to add in a parabolic SAR. This is for me one of the easiest ones. Let's make it a little darker. Go with red. All right. So as you can see here, you have dots below and dots above. The dots below are just telling you that the trend is going up. If you have dots above, it just means that the trend is going down, right? So dots up, dots below, going up, dots down, dots up, down, short up, way down, so on and so forth. So basically, it can add a little bit to your analysis, parabolic SAR. So it kind of gives you a heads up if the trend is changing, okay, more on a short-term basis, and if the trend is continuing. Now you can add in your own indicators. There are a lot of indicators here, and these are all free. And if you check out, if you search on them on Google, they have uh, a lot of videos out there, a lot of tutorials out there to tell you how these ones are actually used, okay, and what they actually measure. So before you use an indicator, um, please do understand what they really are for and what they are measuring, okay? Because it's kind of useless if you have an indicator and you're just combining them, just trying to make a magic combination of several indicators to have your secret sauce or to have your ultimate trading strategy. It doesn't work that way. So these are just additional tools to help you. How about average daily range? That's an excellent question. Average daily range is something that I use. Okay? I use it a lot. Okay? Average daily range is the amount of pips a currency pair moves per day on average. Okay? Again, that's the number of pips a currency pair moves on average. So let's try it. I'll give you something that's a little familiar with me, which is the Euro USD. Now, the Euro USD on average moves around 120 pips a day, on average. Now, I actually don't have any indicator for that. There are a couple of ones that are out there. You can plug it into your MP4 if you want. Okay? I do mine manually. Okay? I just search on Google what are the daily ranges of each pair, and then I just pick one. Okay? So, for example, for Euro USD, the average daily range is 120 pips. So, because I know that the average is 120 pips, I have a good idea that if it reaches the range for the day, let's say it already moves 120 pips for the whole day, and then it's giving me some sort of signals that it's reversing, like it's giving me pin bars, candlesticks, confirmations that it's already reversing, then that's the time that it might actually be a good time to buy that trade. Okay, let's have some examples. So this is the hourly chart, and these are period separators, meaning these are how days are separated. So this is today, this is yesterday, and this is the other day. So let's go for yesterday. Yesterday, the total movement was around 90, so it's not that much really. Okay. But since it already moved like a good 90 pips on average, actually from here, this is your whole range. So you have like a good 90 plus pips. So it's already near 120 pips, and it's already giving you some reversal signs over here. So given that, you might have a good idea that the market is already reversing, that it's already going to go down. Okay? it's very rare that the Euro USD would go up to like 150, 160 pips for no apparent reason. Let's have more examples. Okay. Let's say today, you have here from here. Now the total range is only 86 pips, so it's already giving you an idea that the market is reversing. Might be a good time to buy, or you can wait for it to go down further. Okay. Maybe up to here. This is already 120 pips. If it reaches this level, gives you some reversal signs, then that's a good time to buy it if you want to go with counter trending. Let's check out some of the examples here as well. From here to here, this is already 102 pips. Okay. So if it went up here, gives you some reversal signs at lower time frames, that might be already a good time to sell it. Okay. Same thing, if it goes down here, that might be a good time to buy it. Okay. So that's what ADR is for, or average daily range is for. It basically gives you an idea on where prices can already reverse because they already reach the maximum amount that they usually stretch for the whole day. So you count it from the highest to the lowest point of the day. Was I able to answer your question, Bro Glenn? Right. All right, so that's good. Um, okay, so I guess that sums it up for this session. So that's fundamental analysis and technical analysis for the continuation of how to use MT4. Let's have that on the next session. We don't have enough time for now. We only have a couple of minutes left. Okay? But don't worry, we will cover it on the next webinar. Our next webinar will be we'll tackle something more advanced. Okay? Maybe a couple of trading strategies, and so that we can have something more applied for next week. Okay. So before we end, I'd just like to again invite everyone to join us with our trading camp on October 1. So this is going to be an amazing event for everyone. We'll have everything from basic to advanced, and we'll discuss as much as we can with the forex market. We'll have various speakers discuss how how they trade and what their strategies are, how they make their trading simple, and how they can be profitable. So I think this is very advantageous for everyone. And so it's going to be in October 1. The place is, we still haven't decided on a specific place yet, but it's going to be Metro Manila. It's going to start around 2 p.m. onwards, around 11:30 or 12 p.m. So we're going to have a lot of activities throughout the day, and definitely we will have fellowship at the end. Let's have a good drinking session, get to know traders more on a personal note, and the fee, it's just basically 3,000 for early bird. And what do you get from it? You get like a forex book already. You'll have a printed copy of basics of forex so that you have something with you all the time. You also have a PAFTY shirt with that. Drinks menu is already on the house. Too far, we're here in Mindanao. Oh, that's sad. Don't worry, you guys can visit me there as well. Um, if you guys want to reserve, you have the event here, and then you have the click. You click the link over here, and so that's the reservation form. Uh, Kindly fill out all your details. And this is something interesting that I'd like to show everyone. You can actually customize your t-shirt. We actually kind of made it personal for everyone. So let's say I put A for now so that we can go next. There you go. So you can actually customize your own t-shirt there. If you want your design, this is what it looks like. You can choose your color. You can choose your sizes. If it's men's t-shirt, ladies t-shirt. And so this is already together with the 3,000 early bird payment. If you want something additional, if you want to check out the PAFTY hoodie and you also want that, I'm going to get me one of those. It looks amazing. I might get a blue one. You can also get that. It's only for 800. And there you go. Sizes are there. You can choose. and everything, right? Now, after you register and everything, payment is just to follow. So payment details are already there. So I encourage everyone to join us for our event here at our PAFI anniversary. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be fun, and I think everybody's gonna learn a lot from this one. Okay. So, all right. I think that brings me to the end of this week's webinar. I hope you guys picked up a thing or two, and we'll continue more advanced topics next week during our webinar. I think it's not a good. I think Friday might not be a good day for everyone because traffic is terrible. There are a lot of attendees that came in late, so maybe we can schedule it on Saturday next week. Okay, so I'll give the announcement. I'll just post it on the group, and see you guys next week. Thank you for coming. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. And let's just have a fun analysis this week in our Bhakti group. All right, bye guys. Thank you, and happy tipping. Good night. Happy weekend.